feel at home. Silence on my phone, focus on my goals. Whoa.
What a fantastic start that was for PCF. And now you guys earlier heard about Loiter talk about his big brother and how he inspired him to play Valorant. I'm now joined by said big brother and also Loiter's parents as well, who are here to support him. First of all, welcome to the Riot Games Arena. What's it like to be here to watch your brother on stage?
It's a very proudful thing here. We just came today and we came to support, I think.
Yeah.
I can say that.
But this is not the first time, you know, you've been here supporting him as well. But it does feel like the energy on stage is electric. We're seeing like LaRock do a bit of trash talk as well. Are they always like this?
Yeah, he always doing like these things. We were in the Turkish league. We went there like 3 days. He's just doing these things and he likes it, I think. But he don't think bad as a bad. He just encourage himself for the game.
He's very passionate, right? Very excited, very excited. Now, when it comes to Loiter, like I said, he was telling us about how, because you loved playing games, he wanted to play games as well and play with you. And also, the people don't know that it was Valorant. You suggested it to him to go pro in Valorant, right?
Yeah, he was playing, can I say the game?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He was playing the CSGO and I said, there is a new game, you can try it. And he just blow out, what can I say?
And how much talent did you initially recognize? So when he first started playing Valorant and you saw him, were you like, oh, he's very good, you know, he can go pro?
At the start, he wasn't very good. We were equal. We were like a diamond ranked players, and he just played more than me. And he's blowing everyone. He's Radiant player. I'm stuck Immortal.
You're stuck in Immortal. Hey, Immortal's good. You could go pro. You ever thought about it?
What?
Going pro? You ever thought about maybe you could join him? You could
no,
be
too
professional
hard.
too?
It's not about ranks, it's about reflex or something like that. Usually talented players are young players, I think. That's it.
Yeah, he's very young too. He's a very young talent. Now, we are going to head to, I believe, Abyss next as well. And you're an Immortal player. You watch their games all the time. You know about the game too. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about PCF's Abyss? What could people maybe expect from them on this map?
It's our best map in the PCAMs. We usually win in Abyss. And they are working too hard on Abyss because new teams has to learn new maps to beat experienced players, I think. Experienced teams, I can say.
It's a good strategy, right? They have something on them. And last question before I let you go, as he's coming back onto stage, I'm sure he can hear you as well. Anything you want to say to your brother Loiter over there?
Can I say Turkish?
You can say it in Turkish.
Utku, sendeyiz. Almadan gelme.
Oh, you guys can't see this, but he's given back a little love heart as well. What did you say to him?
I said, just bring the cup. No. Just win the game, I said.
Oh, I mean, he might just do that. They play the way
Sorry
they
for anxiety, by the way.
Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you have a lovely time this weekend. And let's send it back to the desk.
Thank you very much, Yinsu. I mean, Loiter's brother, if you want to join the desk at any time, I'd love that insight about Abyss. But as they said, that is going to be our next map. And although Loiter's went on the way of Pacific, and they are currently undefeated on this map, now is when the Phoenix should come into play. So, Natank, I haven't seen you playing on this map. We haven't seen you with the Phoenix. What do you make of the composition that they use?
I feel like Phoenix can be a good choice in Abyss because there's a lot of long range, and like when you flash, you don't have time to get to hide from the when you get blind, you need to go to hide because otherwise they kill you. And like for example in B long and A long, it's just like having easy kills, to be honest. So I'm looking forward to see this Phoenix pick.
Yeah, I think that we've seen CGN really come out on top last time they played Abyss, like with that Phoenix pick. You know, Pacific were really kind of struggling to get in there, and granted, it was the map that they ended up winning in that series. I'm more just wondering how Pacific are actually feeling on that stage right now, because last time we've seen these two teams play, it was Pacific that won the first map, and then CGN ended up closing out the series anyway. So I think they need to go into the next one and just take it each map as it comes.
Exactly. There might be some unfinished business. And talking about the stage, there's another thing I want to ask you in attack, because we see a lot of the CGN fans today here in the studio, and they're vibing with it. Probably one of the reasons why we almost see that comeback happening. Not comeback from Pacific, but you get what I mean. How did you feel when you were playing Ascension and the crowd was cheering for you? Because I remember seeing a lot of French supporters. And do you think that gave you an edge?
Yeah, I mean, of course it's helping them a lot. Like, it's also helping you to having less pressure, or sometimes more pressure, because you can see the people, the crowd cheering for you, but you can also feel the support. And yeah, of course, as a player, it's just always nice to see people cheering for you. So.
Yeah. On the side of Pacific, we were seeing, and we just saw on that video, on those replays, and of course, if you were on stage, you were seeing how they were standing up, just telling them to shush, even looking at the crowd, being like, nah, you're quiet for this one, you're quiet for this one. Definitely such a strong presence to have on stage. But on the first map, we saw a CGN that was, as I said, undefeated on that Lotus. Pacific is undefeated on this Abyss. Billy, what do they have to do to keep that streak going and put themselves one map away from that grand final?
I'd like to think that because they've played this map, they've kind of learned those lessons. You know, they've gone back and had to think about how they want to play Abyss this time round. And even just to go back to your point about the crowd, you know, like, I feel as though Pacific are actually enjoying being in CGN's home turf and having, like, you know, the crowd not against them, but like, obviously we've seen that there's family members in there for Pacific, but they're probably hearing the CGN crowd chanting for CGN. They're like, okay, well, we're gonna chant back. So yeah, no, I'm liking the energy that's on stage right now, but I'd like to see more of that energy from CGN, because I'm not seeing that right now.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. Like, they could show more. They could, like, hype up each other a little bit more, and I feel that they had a low start, but now we can see that they came closer to the score. To the score they came closer, so maybe we can see another face from CGN.
Yeah, and speaking about seeing other faces, we are going to head into Agent Select. And as I was saying, Comeback did not have such an explosive start, but when it comes to the Jet, when it comes about having that impact, we already see what he was doing with the Marshal, with the Operator, even from the attack. He will find a way to disrupt you. But now, starting on the defense, I look back and I think about the match that we saw between these two, how well they were spacing themselves, how Comeback would be a little bit more aggressive, but how they were stopping them in those executes. Having the timing against the Phoenix, Billy, could be the key to stopping CGN's attack.
Yeah, I mean, CGN had, even on their defense with this composition, they had some really nice set plays with that Omen Paranoia, with the flashes as well. Like, it was really, really nice to see them play. It's more mids that I'm concerned about going into this one, is how are they actually going to fight for that space? Because as you know, Abyss is a map where a lot of the teams are fighting from these extremities, whether it's the A site or the B site. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what lessons they've learned from the last time they played this.
Okay, it is time to jump into the map with our wonderful casters for today, Haza and Cairo.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, looked like the desk said it exactly as it is. What lessons were taken away from this one from last time for CGN? The one map that Pacific picked up in their best of 3 during the opening round. Now in the best of 5, it is that much more important to try and cause an upset here, having lost your banker for this entire calendar year.
I mean, that's the key thing, right? Lotus never being lost, finally you lose it. But that's the thing about CGN, Hazard, they never seem too moved by it, right? They're able to bounce back, they have that strong mentality, moving into Abyss where they've lost it before to Pacific. That's the biggest mental challenge that, I mean, CGN will have.
Passive start for the attack side, flash ready. Pacific are the ones looking to be the protagonists here. The recon reveals nothing, they're already up close. Loiter is waiting to go with Comeback by his side. A dangerous pair, a dynamic duo. Comeback with 2 headshots. Then he gets one back in the conversation and will be on his way towards that run it back. So for that reason, the orb goes elsewhere, but Rose has already ran down middle and made it worse.
Doesn't get any better at all, but for the 2 remaining players, Hazard, both dissecting the different angles. Anguist just moves in and almost makes it an aim labs challenge. That's it for Pacific Kaza, as simple as it gets. Loiter, the only one lost in that round.
And as I said before, not a single pistol round picked up the last time these two played. Pacific have 3 now and are well on their way. It's just the setup in main. They were so ready to go. And even though the recon catches no information, you're expecting CGN to slowly fill these gaps. It's where they begin a lot of their defaults, that A main space. Benny is from side to side trying to fill his pockets with orbs. Comeback's Outlaw in mid, though, is the scariest of tests that have to be passed by Element, who's been on form so far.
Comeback's known about. At least gets rid of the camera, has it, but for the most...
Oh. It's nice. You just set it up. Anguist is there. He's ready for the first duel. Uses the cam. Comeback forced to reconsider. Peeking onto a new angle. Element waiting. Just attack for now.
Still, they want to go forward, Hazza. They want to keep going, and Benny's all on his own. And if you're walking like that, you don't check the corners. Of course, the better weaponry is going to be at the advantage.
Yeah. It's one of the drawbacks of the style that they play. If you're not throwing util in the mix, you're going in dry. Pacific there to punish you. Another angle held from Rose, was stuck in the corner. Anguist had him there, but now revealed. Larok can get in on the act, and just wiping the floor with CGN. Loiter double kill. Davy can't reach the spike. His arms aren't long enough.
30 seconds left.
He'll try and peek again, but it's very quickly shut down. 3 for Loiter, flawless. A great way to build into this bonus.
I mean, that's it. When you look towards when CGN play their attack as the key thing for the defense, just play that anti-contact setup, right? Pacific are just holding angles, waiting for CGN to walk into it. And CGN, they aren't using utility to move players off angles.
Something that Pacific were great at doing last time against CGN as well is just holding space before those retakes. I mean, right now, it's not even the issue. CGN haven't put them in a position where they've had to fight for anything. Mid left so open as well, with just Rose watching over it. And for how Pacific played this on their defender's side so many times in that previous clash, interesting to see nothing thrown their way just yet.
For mid Hazza, when it comes to this map, you only need to know about it till mid to late round. That's when it becomes most dangerous. As for CGN, the danger that they pose is on towards B. The Cypher setup is here. Everything ready for comeback to pounce.
Catch wind of those players well before the traps. Element just about ducking past, gives up the information. Jalasim in the cage.
He could pop out at any moment. He does, and he gets his timing. Just doesn't quite get the second. Vince does, and puts CGN one to the good.
But look at the damage. There is so much here on Vince, Element, players that you need to keep this space. Pacific doing a decent job at backfilling it a little bit, but bodies on the site doing their job the opposite way.
Not ready yet.
But coming back in has it. That damage already poses a threat. Davy H trying to tee players up. Loiter now. They know where he is, right? There's not much that he can do here. In a 4 versus 1 with time against him. A miracle has to be given from him. And he looks as if he's going to be able to do it. A TP towards top site. Element known about it. And CGN will get the first round.
I mean, look, a little bit of a silly TP from Loiter at the end there, but he doesn't really care. Everyone's about to rebuy, and you've removed a lot of the CGN arsenal. So this execute, fairly well dealt with from CGN, and yeah, they held on to the site, which is important. No advanced space, that's something we've got to be thinking about. Are they going to challenge towards B-Link in future? Because Pacific, when they've got the guns and players in position, have had a lot of life out of that.
And the thing is, though, CGN's comp has it. Their ultimate cycle comes up the fastest out of anybody, right? You've got 2 6 orb ultimates, and right now Pacific is looking to try and contest those ultimate orbs.
Oh, well, look, with that flash coming through from Benny as well, you know where the Phoenix is early and where CGN are tailoring themselves. The fact that they've taken the orb control fully, in fact, means that Pacific should be reading into this B execute pretty early.
Yeah, I mean, Element's trying to walk up mid and pose a different question mark, a different question to Pacific, which is quickly answered. Now straight in towards B, using that run it back to get rid of any Cypher utility, or perhaps get rid of Jalasin himself. It doesn't quite work out for them, but they know where the Cypher is. Spike down.
This flashback out of the smoke could be huge, but Jalasin's just walked straight past it. The full 9 yards! A double kill from Jalasin, and just like that, Pacific have the numbers. A 4-on-2, CGN held back again. Both of them revealed. It needs to be huge from Davi now. His Guardian will land the first blow. And there's damage on both of these players. A similar clutch created from him last time out on Abyss, and the spike needing to get halved means that does have an opportunity to peek through, but into 2, it's taken away from him. Pacific extending their advantage in the gun rounds.
I mean, has a CGN first there, only one player. I mean, Rose comes in just to help at the last moment. For the most part, though, like, not knowing about Jalasin, how do you not have an idea of where the mistakes are on your round, right? The gaps in your setup.
So much energy on the Pacific side of the stage as well, and you can see frustration creeping in.
Of course. Why would there not be? Like, a simple mistake like that, Hazza?
Not the position that you want to be in. Back down to pots and pans. And as we said before, Pacific just feel like they have their finger on the pulse. They know exactly what's going on in terms of this macro from CGN.
I mean, that's the thing though, Hazza. With pots and pans, you can try and cook something up. Maybe not like that. Oh.
Yeah, not if you've not got any ingredients. And right now, CGN aren't exactly putting anything on the table. They are walking into these fights. That's what you've got Anguist for, though. He does hit a shot onto Loiter. Weapon can't be recovered, but the hat off his head means there is info to go around. Not spotting anyone on B, but you'll expect the Cypher setup there.
I mean, they know exactly what they're dealing with now, CGN. The setup. Vince now tries to look elsewhere. But as CGN love to put power to their individuals are not putting power into the server at this moment in time. I mean, right now, Pacific are so hungry for engagements, and they're backing it up time and time again. Vince gets the Guardian that was dropped, but this round should be over.
Should be dead in the water. Should be the operative word, because Vince has found a way back into it.
Flank.
Still 3 to pick up, and as you say, the flank is something to think about. Not for the moment. Larocque is the one on the site. Can't get past him, there's probably not a chance. Larocque, in fact, walks all the way back through security to make certain of this one. Vince allowed the plant, but that's where this one ends. End of the road for CGN on a round where they didn't really have too much coming into it, but the plant, I think, is a best case scenario.
I mean, CGN, they're doing what we expect of them, right? They're playing all on their own. Benny blinded up, didn't know where he was going. They try to take these engagements in main and they just get punished for it. Their attack is starting to look more worrying. And I mean, you can see it, this is the thing, right? Everything being stacked up against Pacific, and these young guys are thriving and enjoying this moment, this occasion.
You have to. I mean, you look back into tournaments past, all of the players, Natank saying it on the desk. Former teammate of his, Baddy G, was mentioning last time the adrenaline hit so hard he didn't remember the first 2 games that he played. So coming through the lower bracket can have its positives. Right now, Pacific, again, just standardizing the setup. The only deviation is come back through mid, right up the guts immediately, and on the other side of this trap wire.
So easy to commit to this side of the map as well for Pacific. Hoping that they can maybe get rid of Anguist here as well when they come back in.
Yeah, it's the null command that comeback is called for. Brings the trap offline, gives him a chance to just squeeze this back line, pushes into the crosshairs of Benny. A 3K for the captain, Larocque getting out of dodge, but comeback still lurking in the flank, and Vince in another clutch situation. This one well within his wheelhouse, but it's a precious situation with how little space he had to work with, and comeback closes him down to add a 5th.
I mean, that's the thing, Benny buys them into the round with that 3-piece of his own, but with that, he also gives them something to work with in the next. That run it back, right? That's the key point moving forward. So good for faking out sides of the map.
And this is what Benny does too. He's not a player who statistically you're going to be looking at as a main resource on this CGN side, but I think Steele said it the other day, if there was a stat for space gained, he would be top of the charts, because whether it's the ultimate or just simply going in and having a death which is tradable, it is a net positive value to the CGN side. Right now, they've not been able to get too much out of it.
Thing for me though, Hazza, look towards mid, right? Pacific aren't holding it as much as they were previously, and just committed one trip towards it.
Because the other side of the coin is Element taking fights, and where he wants them would be middle. Instead, you hold down the extremity. Benny's gone solo and lost his head again.
But he's put up a Guardian. There's a bit of a buy here. Like, it just feels so much of a forfeit.
I know what you mean. Divide and conquer would have been the call coming in, but Pacific are standing strong, shoulder to shoulder, brothers in arms. It's another double setup, this time towards B, which puts Anguist in a world of hurt. There's another one! How on earth do they keep on doing this? Anguist peeking into multiple players, and Element, the last one left, puts Davi in a 1v5.
I have the spike.
Yeah, Marshall in hand. Yeah.
It's one thing to lose the round, and for it to be as comfortable as we've seen is a completely different kettle of fish. And right now, Pacific are doing such a great job at containing these contact plays where CGN struggled. Now, yet to call the timeout, but one adaptation that they had consistently made when the guns came up was to just strike a little bit quicker. We saw it on Ascent, we saw it on Abyss. Sometimes the answer to your solution is a simple one. Be a little bit more direct.
But Hazza, right, Pacific and CGN have played each other a few times now, right? They're starting to understand how each other play, and Pacific, they just have everything that they need. I don't know, man.
Come on, let's go.
Well, let's see it. Benny, right out the gate, lets it rip. Run it back through, but Loiter has managed the situation so well. Here's Hunter's Fury traded that does deal extra damage. Information at a bit of a stalemate right now, and Davi does spot the TP towards spawn. So Pacific will be giving up the B site. They're playing for the retake, but again, look at this deep control that they have, and CGN backed up on the site solo.
Taking their time with coming in, Jalarson just goes ahead of the pack, Kaza, and he is giving CGN an advantage, something to work with. Utility being spent to delay, but Rose has escaped, and Vince grabs him and puts him 6 foot under. 2v4, and LaRock is sitting on an outlaw. A scoped weapon is not what you want to try and retake with, and it gets even worse. Now just left with LaRock trying to escape. CGN will double their rounds.
It's a strong start for CGN into a round where that change was made, and it's got the crowd going as well. Looking to raise the roof here, and I can't imagine what the scenes will be if they can haul a map over the line. You have to remember, last time on Abyss started very much the same way, an 8-4 half in favor of Pacific, of course.
Yeah. And for me, Hazza, now you look at the changes setup, they're moving the traps towards the B site, knowing that CGN was committing quickly to that side, and actually committing a player now to mid.
Drone comes through, Davi has been doing such a good job at taking this information. This time the cage is a little further forward, and CGN are right at the throats of Pacific. Element holds the dagger to Loiter.
He can deny this.
He's trying. Fragment in pocket. Couldn't throw it out and land the shots. Element's still so cheeky. Timing here, no dash. Can't get round the corner quick enough to stop the drone. Instead, they settle on the site. It's another aggressive post plant.
Yeah, everybody's here on the Pacific side has it, but Benny getting that extra pick is probably the killer. And it seems if that's going to be the case, it compounding the pain. CGN starting to really look good now. It's all through smokes, it's not direct engagement. But listen, they'll be able to connect 2 rounds together.
Hey, they won't complain. Round comes all the same. And look, they're starting to go through the gears now. They are in motion on the attack side, and what that's come from is, first of all, being a bit more direct, whether it's through Benny's ult or that little cage to support. Pacific, they've pulled off in terms of their aggression on the other side. And then these post plants, they're stacking bodies on the site. Look how deep Benny gets there. And Anguist, a little bit lucky, but again, you take those.
Yeah, coaches coming back into this one, Hazza, and for me, when I look towards these two teams, it's a team of firsts, right? You look towards Pacific, their first time in Tier 2, the first time in Berlin in the Riot Games arena, the first time ever being this far, ever.
First time for CGN as well, and that's the important point to note. A year of firsts for them too. Knocked out of a DAC playoff stage. But then, from the play-ins onwards, they made it from the groups. They made it to their first ever final. They beat their first ever Turkish opponent, a DAC team of that matter, since 2022. And they'll be trying to match that effort here and make it a fourth one this year, a fourth final this year. Timeout on the Pacific side, but of course, CGN will have set their piece as well. Capio, Zesht, both involved. The guns that they have, it's a great opportunity to look in that fourth and match your tally for the last time they played on the same sides.
That's it. I mean, both have neural thefts, and the ultimate side of things, it's an equal footing, right? The only thing for Pacific has it, they're on those light shields, it shouldn't matter too much, but since the spam has been coming in from CGN through the smokes, I mean, that could be a deficit for them.
Who's the guy, the one guy on the Phantom? Captain Cheese, Benny. You know, he's going to get those 140s and take them when he can. Guy does not play by the book. He's been berated for it before, but the results speak for themselves. They are here in Berlin. The top three. Ooh. Element trying to lead the line, be the point man of this push. He drops away as the drone comes in. CGN have managed to take the mid control for themselves here, though.
I mean, doesn't destroy the drone and actually gives information towards Pacific. There's at least 2, maybe even 3 in mid. And now Pacific have to take note of that. Davi tries to hide behind a pillar, but it's like Shaq hiding behind a tree. You can see him.
Did Loiter even know? It's cerebral stuff has come back. Collects one more, and now it's a 5-on-3. CGN bring a slow pace to the round where they expect Pacific to have shuffled the deck, but the setup is very much the same. You had the push and pull in mid, they reinforced A main instead, and it's been such a staple for them so far. It feels like if ever they get that early control, the round is all but won.
Yeah, well, Vince getting that pick now puts Anguist in a really good spot, right? Because now all attention towards the B side, or it should be. Rose looks away, but Jalarson gets that pick, activating the neural theft, and now things get worrying. Anguist is in the back lines, and Rose has to give up his position that should allow the spike to go down.
Anguist has to be advanced here. He's just holding them back completely by himself. So much to do with 3 players close up.
The timing's insane. Knows about the players and plays as CGN in. Now down to a 1v1. Captain Cheese himself, and Rose knows exactly where he is. One shot dart, it doesn't land, and the hot hands has played Benny in, but it's Rose instead that grabs the round. Advantage to Pacific.
Benny would have wanted to be Mr. Fantastic there, but couldn't find it, and Pacific takes 7. A huge clutch from Rose. They had the numbers, and the big thing for me here is even just in the details of how CGN take the site. Benny's putting his blaze wall up for once. We didn't get all too much of that. The utility was good. Yeah, then you've got Vince taking a backside peek by himself. Things start to fall apart. It gets isolated. Sure, that's where Anguist then begins to thrive again. But other than that, I don't know. It's like CGN succeed for the same reasons that they fail.
That's the thing though, Hazza, when it comes into these rounds, CGN keep fighting themselves into great spots, but at the same time, they're feeding Pacific confidence. As this series goes on, as this map goes on, are you telling me that you want to be going up against a confident Pacific? Like, these guys are so happy to go and take these 1v1 gunfights. And they do it, like, for instance, through the shot darts, playing themselves in. They're not afraid to use the utility to put them in the prime spot. CGN they've made their adaptations in terms of going quick. Pacific know about that. What are they changing now?
That's the question, if anything at all. One thing that has remained the same is the support, the CGN faithful in their droves. Heard that they may even have driven a bus from Cologne. However true that is, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, the party bus.
Yeah, it was from the DAC booth right next to us. Plenty of things were said by them, however, that's feeling like the quieter contingent. Listen, on this back wall right now.
Yeah, well, we've been there before. We understand how it can be.
That's exactly it. Familiar situation here. Just at a moment's pause. For Pacific right now as well, the fact that they're on this stage in the first place, it feels miraculous to say the least, because you're looking at a team from a region which carries so much talent, yet it's the weight of a cursed title which they carry.
I mean, for me, Hazel, coming into this, I had chats with all the different talent members from all the regions, and what the Turkish talent was saying to me, like, listen, these guys are an anomaly. This train needs to stop at some time. There needs to, like, they are overachieving from what is actually possible of this roster, right? Now coming into it, like, the Turkish region, they have something to be so proud of. Like, they didn't have anything since Foot made that promotion run all the way back in 2022.
Yeah, right, VRL finals as it was at the time.
Yeah.
Get told off for calling it a regional league these days, but Pacific certainly up to the challenge. It is the run of dreams. It's exactly what they would have been saying in the boardroom, from Premier to the big stage in Berlin and under the bright lights, up by 4 rounds. But both have said their piece, an extended timeout, a break in play, and we're right back to it. CGN with that run it back online, and Benny is always the one that you've got to be looking at. They want more of this quick execution, or so it would seem. All 5 players right at the gates.
Yeah, straight towards B. Typically the most vulnerable on Abyss, and where teams look to exploit time and time again. I mean, the Cypher setup being there makes this even better. Should do, and CGN has they wait for Pacific to peek into them and punish.
That's an issue that Pacific had before. You saw it so far back to the playoff stage in Turkey. Peeking into the setup sometimes when the execute was coming through, and CGN reaped the rewards. They have the numbers and they have the post plant. Anguis, another, and he gets out of dodge.
Has now in a 4v1. What does Loiter have, right? I mean, I don't even know if he wants to put it forward, already backing out. This is looking like a save for Pacific. Another round to CGN.
Throws in the towel. That's what this one will be. A smoke dropped on the site to sell the fake that he would try it, but even he knows this is one where you are well outmatched. And now the money for Pacific into this last round, where they'll be looking to reach the same tally that they took the previous time out on Abyss, settled in the end by only a matter of 2 rounds. I must repeat, it starts to get a little bit more scary for them here.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. We were talking about, do you want to go up against a confident Pacific? As if you're CGN, you want to go up against an overconfident Pacific, right? True. Trying to peak, when they try and overpeak, when they try and do this, going in towards the way the Contact Gaming Nation like to play, that's the ultimate counter, right?
That's the joke. CGN often the punchline, but they're the ones who've stripped the gloves off now and are starting to send haymakers Pacific's way. They need some kind of X factor on this round, the Turks, because it is a Stinger and Sheriff amongst a bad batch of rifles. Then again, as long as Comeback has a gun in his hands, he seems to have been good enough and is stationed closer towards the B side of the map for a 2nd round in a row. Can he have his imprint this time?
Yeah, look how tightly knitted those 2 trap wires are. It's Benny who's got rid of both, and still the thing is though, has Jalasin hiding towards danger, but he won't be dangerous anymore. Still even in this round, and as they try to get in, it gets more and more worrying. Pacific has they've been over-peaking for the past 2 rounds, and finally CGN are able to punish. We head into post.
Didn't feel like a mistake that they were going to make, but this round is still very much alive. Larak on the back lines, the Clutch King arriving in Berlin. 2 picked up from him. Loiter does get dismissed, and so it is just on to their main man now. 33 clutches and counting this calendar. This would need to be the biggest yet to bring them to the same tally that they enjoyed last time out on Abyss.
Hazard, there's a crossfire here. This should never be in Larocque's hands, and it isn't. They go one better than the last time that they attacked Pacific on Abyss. This whole half has been topsy-turvy, ebbing and flowing. But the thing is though, Hazard, if we want the conclusion, we need to wait after this break.
Good half, boys.
CGN seem to have learned their lesson. Improvements made since the last time out on Abyss against Pacific. A 7-5 half separating the two. A matter of 2 rounds. The same difference that separated them when that one concluded.
I mean, we're starting to see mistakes creep in to Pacific's game, and CGN, their game plan starting to come into full flow, Hazard. That's the thing, when you start to play in towards that, Pacific have to regain. But listen, second half, it always starts off with a pistol, right?
You'd hope so. Definitely something in the water. If not, it's been a strange start to the series. CGN losing a map which they hadn't for the whole year into Abyss. Pacific, they start strong as you expected. That confidence boost going a long way. But veterans on these kinds of stages, those German grand finals of which they have all too many, starting to prove its worth now. It's a very spread default from Pacific. They are just trying to find what CGN are up to, but it's next to nothing.
I mean, Element's playing passive off the contact of the camera from Anguist and just misses his timing on Rose. The rest of the players of Pacific are starting to head this way. CGN, they have the information to make a gamble on, but they're not going to go for it.
Yeah, Anguist is playing off Element. The Cam watching an empty mid at this point in time. Finally, he'll hit the shot. Comeback is gone. And Pacific are slow to follow this one up. It is laboured to get into the site. Element re-peeking through the smoke. And twice the numbers now for CGN. They've still got bodies on the site and Pacific can't rout them out. Element will not stop. And Vince has put the finishing blow. That is a 6 for CGN and their first pistol of the series.
I mean, that's the thing for me, Hazard, that CGN are absolutely excellent at, is playing off one another, right? I mean, we've seen it so many times before. How many rounds have you watched where you say, CGN, there's no way that they win this, right? And then they somehow manage to combine together and get it over the line. I think that's the first pistol round that we've seen them win so far in the series as well.
Yeah, as I said. And it's a great place to pick it up too when you've been gaining momentum towards the end of that first half, 4 of those 5 rounds that we saw. Since the timeout, no less, I think it's important to mention.
Spike not committed to anywhere. That's how you know Pacific are just testing the setup, which CGN have and what's going about.
This is a very rare round from them as well because there's absolutely 0 up front. It is a full set of classics, not even a Marshal, a Sheriff, of which we've seen so often. Anguist picking one up onto Loiter and it'll go eerily silent. There is simply no follow-up because they're hoping that they'll get a gift.
I mean, right now you can see where the priority lies in terms of ultimates for Pacific. It's on that Hunter's Fury of Rose. He's picked up both ultimate orbs so far as well. They look to now pivot into the B execute, but they've left Hazza Larocque towards the A main side.
Still waiting for an opening, something to fall into their hands. Will be without the spike, and actually Anguis would need to cross to deny this. So extra credit, that's something. Larocque will fall, and they should all duly collapse and crumble. Pacific trying to build sand without any water, nothing sticking here except the spike plant. Come back. The damage from the Classic is not very much, and he has to cross to danger now across 3 players and a molly if there's any chance. He'll get nothing. Benny snatches it away, and that is the scoreline tied. Flawless, huge going into the bonus.
For the most part, though, Hazza, right, that round in terms of damage was a failure, but in terms of information collecting and what the protocols are for CGN, massive, right? Like the way they execute in towards B, they leave Larocque to lurk in towards A. They can see if maybe, like in future rounds, is the fake going to be worthy? Is that going to be possible? Not only that, they've got ultimate orbs down, and I mean, as I said before, the priority on the ultimates. Look at Rose.
One away from the Hunter's Fury. We've seen Pacific a lot of times as well try and take this mid space. They didn't do too much of it on the defense, but on the attack, they're already right in and amongst it. CGN not playing with it, Cam left there, but this is where the ult comes in. Rose liking to use this towards upper if he can get his hands on it, and it's just going to make that split much more effective, but Larocque reads this one ahead of time, ahead of the play. Davi gone, and now the prerogative put on CGN to make something happen.
Yeah, Benny just collects the Bulldog left on the floor. As for now, though, Hazza, Pacific, as you said, still looking to execute towards the A side. Here comes the Hunter's Fury in. Exactly what we expect, and Pacific have burst straight in. Benny still lies as the lone soul holder, but he won't get anything done at all. It's left to the 2 on the outer edges of A. What can they find?
Element will be hoping to take away some of these weapons as well, as Pacific look to build back into this in a half where they struggled last time. Something they weren't without, though, spike plants, getting into the site. Only a handful of times when CGN could actually shut them out. It was the retakes, but they had a lot more success. Just a little deviation here to even introduce the Hunter's Fury towards backside, group up as 5 and play through main instead of trying to complicate it and spreading yourself thin. It's a foolproof game plan. And now there's only one left to beat. That's Element. They run the opposite way. I don't know if they're going to get out of the radius of this. They should. It's all good. In the end, an Element is left with nothing.
Yeah, you're probably just going to jump off of the edge, right? No, he actually keeps on to the Guardian.
Steady.
No, I just meant like in terms like you're probably wanting the rifle, like the Vandal or whatever, for the next round. Yeah, for the most part, it was very like foretold. You know what I mean? Like they almost like told CGN what was happening.
Sure. Yeah, Pacific were very well set up for that one, and I think, look, finding that timing from Larocque and him just being a little more present in that situation really helped to open things up, and they carry on from that point onwards. CGN Elements managed to pocket a little extra money by holding on to that Guardian. So, the situation as it is now, a bolstered B defense, of which Pacific are respecting so long as that smoke sticks around towards A.
I mean, has a thing is though, right, with 2 players towards A, they should be looking just to play this total retake, right? Benny's still sticking around, and that's the thing that worries me.
That was the thing before, his decision making. Did he want to stick or twist? Hold the site? Or give up the space entirely? And that's what he's got to try and do now. Pacific, again, grouping for their full execution. And it is only going to be Benny here for the time being. Vince's legs aren't going to carry him fast enough, and in fact, Benny has decided better of it. So he drops back and we go 5v5.
I mean, powder keg placed firmly in this round, has it?
Ooh.
And when does it blow? Well, it looks as if it is, with Pacific pushing the boundaries of CGN setup and trying to upset this retake. Holding on towards the heaven position is such a key win condition if you can grab it.
Comeback tucking in the corner. This Cam will take contact before him. He's got Loiter there with him there as well. And Larok's holding on to the side. Big kill element. 3 from CGN to retaliate. And now from the heavens, Comeback needs to play God! And he can! Don't call it a comeback. The Turkish talent has been here for years.
I mean, Hazza, that is sensational. We talk about win conditions. There is only one man who can be a sole win condition. It would be Comeback. My God, man. It gets worse and worse for CGN. Straight away, they come into this next round with a timeout, having to talk about what happened in that last round because it was only one man.
One man made all the difference. Comeback, one of the few players who will be eligible, of course, for the EMEA League next year.
Oh, man.
And on the books of many, when you consider the history that we have with these lower finals as well. It's not a guarantee at this point in time.
I mean, the thing is, though, Hazza, we still have academy teams coming into next year. That's a big thing to consider.
Of course. But looking from that point onwards, as I said, on the losing side of this same game over a year ago, you know, 2 stayed, 2 were benched, and 1 just came back from retirement. It was only the players that made it to the final that made their stay in VCT EMEA. All 10 of them, in fact. So if you see this as your golden ticket, then it is for sure a prime opportunity now for anyone in the server to make their mark.
I understand what you're saying, Hazza, but even playing in this final, you put yourself onto a short list for trials, etc. Everyone is watching this game, well, the ones who are scouting anyway.
Pacific again 5 strong, this time it's straight from the barrier, no smoke, nothing to stop them, only the players on the site. Vince needs to make an adjustment, but it's not quick enough. Quickly dealt with, Dappy through the smoke, the tags will help, but how much more can Benny do with this lease on life that he's been given? Nothing. Pacific find it all, and get that spike down again with the numbers up. It is just rinse and repeat.
It is, it's so firmly in Pacific's favour, but if there is anyone who could be the person to come back in its element, he has the rifle, can win that first fight, the most important of all. Anguish now only on a Marshall, and picks for the Sheriff that was on his pocket anyway. Find the first, yes he can. Like, this is something that could be worked with, and while the rest of the players remain in main, they're not wanting to give any scraps to him.
Larok has the fragment here as well to just drop this down into a snail crawl. 3 players should peek him. Sure, Rose is isolated, but the rest do their job. Double digits Pacific, 3 away from that second map.
Well, I mean, 3 away is the gap from CGN to Pacific as well. That's the other thing to consider. But again, we have to talk about the state of the game and what it looks like. Element has picked up the up for the first time coming into the next round, Hazza. But for me as well, you've also got to be considering the ultimates and what's coming online and what is online. And most of them are in Pacific's core.
The Element's got to make this op sing. Bested comeback in the majority of the opening duels. Turkish player only found a single scoped weapon kill back against him. Or op kill, I should say, in that time. So it's a chance to shine for the serve, but he drops away, and the Blaze, they're no better.
Benny left all on his own, Hazza. He can't get anything. CGN so late to the party. Coming back in, though. What do they have? I mean, now all the utilities should be online, but remember, there's still a judge on site. That's the worrying thing, and CGN have no notes about it. They have no idea.
Comeback with this judge is still such a scary prospect. As I said before, he just needs a gun in his hands, but Vince will loosen that grip. Death itself greets him. And a smoke down will make this spike diffuse easy, but not when the shocks are in play.
Hazza the flank as well. Jalarsen's coming straight in.
He's getting primed in position. Anguish knows it, but what can they possibly do? Reveal between the legs of Davi. He stuck it down to half. He's straight back on it. The flank comes up trumps. Jalarsen, the last man standing. Pacific with an 11th. And with that, the bye is gone.
has a massive round. And the thing about Jalarson is the meaning of his name as well, has the boy who means greatness, and he brings greatness into such a key round here.
Enemy down. Shock down.
Breaks the buy. That's going to be massive for Pacific coming through.
Absolutely huge. What a round to win. CGN backed up to the wall right now. 5 rifles online. It's the blades in Element's hands that you've got to look at being able to do something. Fast play called, revealed, but no kill. And now they know he's empty-handed and has got to try and escape with his life, which he does a valiant job at doing so. But that was your chance, and you put Rose down to 8, but he's still got a drone, he still have his recon, and if you want to drop the ult from the back lines, then go ahead.
It's up to Anguist. All alone on B. Element's going to be here soon, and Anguist can't quite get out. Element can at least try and rescue the Guardian. Gets it after the 3rd attempt, but the players are in. The utility sent forward, and Element still standing strong. He's got something to work with, and Benny compounds it. There is a real winning chance in this round, but the neural theft is probably the thing that looks to upset it. No, it's Element.
Big kills from Element. That's the numbers. Pacific now on the prowl, looking to hunt. They're getting more aggressive. It's left Jalarson alone, and Vince will clean up. An 8th for CGN, a much-needed round. They couldn't take it when the rifles were in play, but they've just about stabilized the situation with a win here.
I mean, that's it, has it. 3-round gap. That's CGN needing to build up back into this. At least get 1 dent into this, right? They've got 1 round dent. Again, as I keep saying, it's about stringing these rounds together and getting the momentum at your back.
Such clean shots from Element, and Vince turning up when needed. He's a player who, when he plays well, everyone else on CGN plays well. So involved in the comms, so vocal, a big driving force behind them doing well. So now putting himself positive with some of these ults online as well, when you consider the fact that Pacific threw the Hunter's Fury at that, Rose still getting the value despite how low he was. What can they do here? It's another mid-Inquisition, but this time it's a lot lighter on the CGN side.
Enemy mark.
Oh, he's actually just caught the second player there, the Cypher. You know there's a bigger presence than just the sole player that was in spawn.
And honestly, I like this from Element too. Something that their DAC counterparts, Mao's doing a lot, layering that jet with a peek on top of the Cypher utility. You see him there, but do you expect Anguist behind this? And for Pacific right now, as the default continues, it is Rose just selling a fake. You don't often see them occupy A main any later than the first 30 seconds if they're not executing.
Still has her. Just suffocating the noise, creating this vacuum of information for CGN. They stay in the positions, but actually Davi, who's starting to rotate. Benny gets to run it back, but I think has it. Yeah, no, he's still got it. Straight into the site and gets the entry kill. Can he get more? No. The Hunter's Fury perhaps could have. And look at this. They're 1 to the good. In fact, 2 to the good, sorry, for CGN. The cage working in Pacific's favour, and Vince having to hope that people can hold him, and they certainly are. Just Larocque out in main, 20 seconds left. Again, it's another one of those big asks.
CGN holding onto the backside space, pushing and Pacific's execute. Benny invests the ult, goes for more fights. It's all good. His job is done. And Vince there, not taking any extra peeks, is really what you want to see, because the rotate was coming in. They had the space. They just needed to engineer the retake, and it works. Larocque able to keep the Vandal just about around the corner, and Pacific call time on this one. Things starting to get a little bit scary. 4 wins on the bounce, and all of a sudden CGN come back with resistance of their own.
You can understand it, right? Like the momentum slowly building. I know it's only 2 rounds, but
now
sometimes that can be enough to start the fire, right?
Ooh. Interesting from Benny. He said now it's going to get harder, and that is as the timeout comes through. So What exactly they're expecting here, hard to say. But on the Pacific side, yeah, that was another execute, which, like I said, leans into some of their more common tendencies. You see Rose, as that Sova player, go A main, maybe he throws the drone, maybe a recon, but nothing too much more past that. Once CGN realized this, they can afford the B rotation. And again, the biggest part was that Vince was able to hold his ground, hold his nerve on the backside B, and give them a chance. But look, you call a timeout, that doesn't bring the energy down. CGN still here, raising the roof and trying to make their impact felt to their players on the other side of the server, of whom they have followed from either end of the country.
Yeah, I mean, that's
to what could be the end of their campaign this year.
one game to decide it all for your year. Every match that you play is essentially a grand final, from the lower bracket all the way to the grand final. Now, here we go, straight back in. A little bit of a different buy from Pacific, but there's still things that they can work with, and they set their eyes solely on mid.
This time it's the cam, but also Davi there following it up. So both ideas presented, and as soon as Pacific flush him off the angle, you're probably not expecting Anguist's utility to be here as well. Similar setup towards B, and look, Pacific have found so much value out of taking this space and putting those backstabs in, but there's not really enough pressure from Rose in main.
Has a CGN, Benny, they need to find a way to fight out of this, or else it's going to end up being a disaster. It doesn't end up being too bad.
And it's not Rose in the end, really, that has to be the distraction. He is the one who's then buying in off the pressure of his teammates through middle.
Right, let's look at the post plant though.
Scanning ahead.
2 players towards main, and Rose is invested through for a late flank. CGN slowly make their way on towards that site, and remember, the spike plant certainly isn't in the best spot for them to try and get the things defused. Element gets that kill, but now Rose is coming into play. He knows exactly where the players are, and the trigger discipline is working against CGN. It's perfectly played. He's given all the information to LaRock, who's playing on main. A tap of the spike, trying to beat out the peaks. It's not working. Time is going against them. Pacific look to get it done. Davi has no time to get it. It will be Pacific. It will be 12, and it's another map point.
And a huge map point to pick up, because there's breathing room between the two now. Benny said things were going to get hard, and I'll tell you what, they weren't out of the woods and they still aren't here. Looking at the next round, I mean, what they bring to the table, it'll certainly be interesting when we get to that point, because I'm seeing 2 ops getting selected. But for this one, yeah, it was an eco. And the big thing for Pacific is they just set the post plant up from both sides. They had the flank coming in, and they got the absolute most out of it. Rose, again, doing it all.
Element straight away off the angle. He legs him as doesn't quite get the fight he was looking for, and has to give everything up. Vincent, Element, they're so under pressure. The nature of spec was being put forward. This is such an explosive take by Pacific, and they just seem to be hitting their shots every time.
It's one thing to buy 2 ops, but you don't want them both in the bloody retake. So Element and Davi are really going to struggle to get things going here, and Pacific are bearing down on them. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Benny, the last one standing, he will fall. 13 for Pacific, and with that, only 1 map away from the grand final.
Hazza, it is the long road for CGN now to try and get back into this series. A reverse sweep is asked of them, but for Pacific right now, I mean, what a way to come into this series. Win Lotus, win Abyss. I mean, it's amazing.
Again, so much work done by Pacific. They got the start that they were looking for, bit patchy in the middle. CGN still showing signs of life, but their death could very soon be on the cards. 1 map coming up, which could be their last. We'll watch it after the break.
In my zone, yeah, I feel at home. Silence on my phone, focus on my goals, whoa.